Welcome to this video. Today we will take a long, clear, and simple journey through the modern history of Iran. Our story begins more than 150 years ago, during the late Qajar dynasty, and continues all the way to today. You will learn about kings, revolutions, wars, important political movements, and the social changes that shaped modern Iran. Everything is explained in simple English to help language learners understand easily. Let's begin. Part 1. The Qajar Dynasty, 1794–1925. 1. The situation of Iran in the Qajar period. During the Qajar time, Iran was weak and poor. There was no modern army. Most areas were controlled by local leaders and tribes. The economy depended mainly on agriculture, and the government collected taxes from farmers and merchants. Iran did not have modern schools, industries, or good roads. Europe, especially Russia and Britain, was growing stronger, and they wanted to control parts of Iran for their own interests. 2. Iran and Russia. Two major wars. Iran fought two difficult wars with Russia in the early 19th century. Iran lost both wars because it had a weak army and old weapons. As a result, Iran lost many territories in the Caucasus region, including Georgia, Armenia, and parts of Azerbaijan. These defeats shocked the Iranian people and made them realize that the country needed reform. 3. The influence of Britain. Britain wanted to protect its trade route to India. Because of this, Britain became deeply involved in Iran. Both Russia and Britain pressured Iran to sign economic agreements called concessions. These concessions allowed foreigners to control the telegraph, tobacco, banks, railways, and even the extraction of natural resources. The Tobacco Protest, 1890–1892. One concession gave a British company the right to control the entire tobacco trade in Iran. This angered many people, farmers, merchants, and religious leaders. A major religious scholar, Mirza Shirazi, issued a fatwa saying smoking tobacco was forbidden. This protest united the people for the first time. The Qajar king cancelled the concession, and Iranians learned that they could resist foreign influence. 5. The Constitutional Revolution, 1905 and 1911. Life was very hard. High taxes, corruption, foreign influence, economic problems. People wanted justice and a modern government, so they started the Constitutional Revolution. The goals were: limit the king's power, create a parliament, write a constitution, establish a modern legal system. After many struggles, Iran created its first parliament in 1906. This was a turning point, even though political instability continued. 6. Iran. During World War I, Iran said it was neutral in World War I, but the country was still occupied by Russian, Ottoman, and British troops. Many people suffered from famine, disease, and poverty. The government was extremely weak. Part 2. Rise of Reza Shah and the Pahlavi dynasty, 1925–1941. 1. Chaos. After World War I. After the war, Iran was full of disorder, tribal conflicts, bandits, weak central government, foreign interference. People wanted a strong leader to bring peace. 2. The coup of 1921. In February 1921, Reza Khan, a powerful military officer, led a coup with the help of a politician named Sayed Zia. Reza Khan soon became the Minister of War and later the Prime Minister. 3. Reza Khan becomes Reza Shah. Reza Khan brought order by building a strong army and defeating rebellious tribes. In 1925, he became the new king of Iran and started the Pahlavi dynasty. 4. Modernization under Reza Shah. Reza Shah wanted to modernize Iran quickly. He built new schools and sent students to Europe, created the first modern university, built new roads and the Trans-Iranian Railway, formed a national army, reduced the power of tribal leaders, tried to limit the influence of religious authorities. He also introduced a new dress code and promoted Western-style clothing. 5. Foreign policy and World War II. Reza Shah tried to stay independent from Russia and Britain. He developed close ties with Germany. When World War II began, the Allies became suspicious of Iran's relationship with Germany. In 1941, British and Soviet forces invaded Iran. Reza Shah was forced to abdicate, and his son, Mohammad Reza Shah, became king. Part 3. Mohammad Reza Shah and the Road to Revolution, 1941–1979. 1. Political turmoil. After 1941. After Reza Shah's abdication, Iran entered a period of political freedom, but also chaos. Many political parties and groups emerged: communists, nationalists, religious groups, liberal intellectuals. The country struggled with foreign influence, especially in the north where Soviet-backed movements gained power. 2. The nationalization of oil, 1951–1953. The most famous political movement in this era was led by Dr. Mohammad Mossadegh, a nationalist leader. He wanted Iran to control its own oil, which was dominated by a British company. In 1951, Iran nationalized its oil industry, shocking the world. Britain was angry and put an embargo on Iranian oil. The economy weakened. The United States and Britain worried about Iran growing closer to the Soviet Union. In 1953, a joint CIA-MI6 operation organized a coup that removed Mossadegh. The Shah returned to power with strong Western support. 3. Increasing power of the Shah. After the coup, Mohammad Reza Shah strengthened his rule. He created a secret police organization called Safavid to control political opponents. But at the same time, Iran experienced rapid economic development, more schools and universities, healthcare improvements, better roads and infrastructure. 4. The White Revolution, 1963. The Shah launched major reforms called the White Revolution: land reform, literacy programs, women's right to vote, expansion of education, industrial development. These changes improved modern life, but also created deep tensions. Some religious leaders opposed the reforms. Many villagers moved to big cities, causing economic imbalance. 5. Growing opposition in the 1970s. Iran's oil income increased dramatically. The Shah held luxurious celebrations and tried to present himself as a global emperor. But people were unhappy because there was corruption, political freedom was limited, wealth was not shared fairly. Western influence increased. Safavid oppressed critics. In 1978, protests began and spread quickly. Part 4. The Islamic Revolution of 1979. 1. Causes of the revolution. The revolution happened because of many reasons combined: social inequality, inflation, corruption, anger at Western influence, strong religious opposition, growing educated youth who wanted freedom. 2. Important events: January, protests in Qom; February, protests in Tabriz; summer, more demonstrations; August, the cinema. Rex fire caused national anger; autumn, millions protested nationwide. December, oil workers went on strike. 3. Fall of the government. The Shah left Iran in January 1979. Ayatollah Khomeini returned from exile. The army declared neutrality. The monarchy collapsed in February 1979. A new system, the Islamic Republic, was created. Part 5. The Islamic Republic of Iran, 1979 today. 1. The new system. In 1979, a referendum established the Islamic Republic. A new constitution created powerful institutions such as the Supreme Leader, the Revolutionary Guard, IRGC, the Guardian Council. The U.S. Embassy crisis. Later in 1979, students took over the American embassy. 52 Americans were held hostage for 444 days. The event caused a major break in U.S.-Iran relations. 3. The Iran-Iraq War, 1980–1988. Iraq invaded Iran in 1980. The war lasted 8 years and caused huge destruction. Millions of people were affected, and the economy suffered greatly. 4. Reconstruction era, 1989–1997. After the war, President Rafsanjani focused on rebuilding the country, rebuilding cities, expanding industry, improving infrastructure. 5. Reform era, 1997–2005. Mohammad Khatami became president. He promoted dialogue among civilizations, press freedom, cultural openness. But conservatives limited many of his reforms. 6. Ahmadinejad era, 2005–2013. The government became more conservative. Iran developed its nuclear program. International sanctions increased. In 2009, disputed elections led to the Green Movement protests. 7. Rouhani era, 2013-2021. A nuclear deal called JCPOA was signed in 2015. Some sanctions were lifted, but in 2018, the U.S. withdrew from the deal and reimposed sanctions. The economy worsened again. 8. Recent years, 2021, today, Iran faces economic challenges, international tensions, domestic protests. Political debates about reform and change modern Iranian history is full of dramatic events, wars, revolutions, reforms, political struggles, and social change. It is the story of a nation trying to find justice, independence, and progress. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more. Welcome back to this documentary. In the previous part, we explored Iran from the late Qajar era to the rise of Mohammad Reza Shah after the Second World War. Now, we continue with one of the most important chapters in modern Iranian history. The nationalization of oil, the rise of Dr. Mohammad Mossadegh, the 1953 coup, and the political landscape that shaped Iran during the Cold War. Let's begin. Chapter 7. The Oil of Iran and Foreign Control. By the middle of the 20th century, oil had become the most valuable resource in Iran. However, Iran did not control its own oil. The Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, AIOC, a British company, had full control over production, export, and profits. The contract was extremely unfair. Iran received very little of the money made from its own oil. British workers had better living conditions and higher salaries than Iranian workers. Iranian politicians, merchants, and students were angry. They believed the company acted like a state within a state. The oil issue became a national question. Who should control Iran's natural wealth, the Iranian people or a foreign company? This question changed the future of Iran. Chapter 8. The rise of Dr. Mohammad Mossadegh. One of the strongest voices demanding Iranian control over oil was Dr. Mohammad Mossadegh. He was highly educated, came from a respected family, and had a reputation for honesty. People trusted him. Mossadegh believed that Iran must be independent, politically and economically. He also believed in democracy, the rule of law, and the power of the parliament. In 1951, Mossadegh became prime minister. He immediately took bold action. The parliament passed a historic law. Iran's oil industry was nationalized. This meant that foreign control ended, and the oil belonged to the Iranian people. The decision was extremely popular inside Iran. Crowds celebrated in the streets. For the first time in many years, Iranians felt proud and united, but Britain was furious. Chapter 9. The British reaction and the oil crisis. The British government refused to accept the nationalization. Their economy depended heavily on Iranian oil. They took several actions. They placed a global embargo on Iranian oil. They withdrew all British technicians from Iran. They blocked Iran from selling oil to world markets. They froze Iranian assets. They pressured the United States to act against Mossadegh. Iran faced a severe economic crisis. Oil exports fell to almost zero. The government struggled to pay workers and maintain services. But Mossadegh refused to surrender. He believed Iran had the right to control its own resources. Mossadegh also reduced the power of the Shah. He wanted a true constitutional monarchy where the king had limited political power. This made him many enemies: foreign governments, the Shah's supporters, conservative politicians, some military officers. At the same time, Mossadegh became extremely popular among the people, creating a political struggle inside the country. Chapter 10. The 1953 coup, Operation Ajax. At the height of the Cold War, the United States feared the spread of communism. American leaders believed that the crisis could weaken Iran and make it vulnerable to Soviet influence. Britain convinced the United States that Mossadegh was too independent and too risky. Together, they planned a secret operation to remove him from power. This operation was known as Operation Ajax, led by the CIA and British intelligence. Their plan included funding street protests, paying military officers to switch sides, spreading false information, weakening Mossadeg's supporters, encouraging the Shah to dismiss Mossadegh. At first, the coup attempt failed. Mossadegh remained in power and the Shah fled Iran. But a few days later, a second attempt succeeded. Mossadegh was arrested. Many of his supporters were jailed. The Shah returned to Iran with full support from the United States and Britain. The 1953 coup changed Iranian history forever. Many Iranians believed their democracy had been destroyed by foreign intervention. This event created long-term anger toward Western powers, especially the United States and Britain. Chapter 11. The Shah's consolidation of power. After the coup, Mohammad Reza Shah became much more powerful. He strengthened the monarchy and reduced the role of the parliament. With strong support from the United States, he built a modern army, expanded the economy, and increased oil production. However, the political environment became more restricted. The Shah believed that political competition created instability. To control opposition, he created a powerful security organization called Savak. Savak monitored political activities, censored newspapers, and arrested opponents. On the economic side, the Shah used oil money for development. He invested in roads and highways, modern industries, electricity and infrastructure, schools and universities, hospitals and social services. Iran began to modernize rapidly. Cities grew quickly. Many people moved from villages to urban areas. But modernization created new problems. Economic changes were uneven. Some people became wealthy, but many others struggled. Traditional groups felt their values were ignored. Students and intellectuals demanded more political freedom. The gap between modernity and tradition became wider. Chapter 12. The White Revolution, 1963. In 1963, the Shah launched a major program of reforms known as the White Revolution. It included land reform, giving voting rights to women, expanding education, nationalizing forests, selling state-owned factories, improving healthcare and literacy. The Shah believed these reforms would modernize Iran peacefully. Some parts were successful. For example, schools expanded rapidly. But other reforms created controversy. Land reform, for example, changed traditional village life. Some farmers became landowners, but many lost their livelihoods. The reforms increased migration to cities, creating social pressure. The White Revolution also reduced the influence of religious leaders. This created tension with prominent clerics, including Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, who later became the leader of the Islamic Revolution. Khomeini delivered powerful speeches criticizing the Shah's policies. He argued that the government was corrupt, dependent on foreign powers, and damaging Islamic values. In 1963, he was arrested, causing widespread protests. Later, he was exiled from Iran, but his influence continued to grow. Chapter 13. Rising opposition in the 1970s. By the 1970s, Iran had become a wealthy country due to high oil prices. The Shah dreamed of making Iran a major global power. He held big celebrations, bought advanced military equipment, and presented Iran as a strong and modern nation. But beneath the surface, many problems continued. Political restrictions, censorship, economic inequalities, corruption, rapid cultural changes, dissatisfaction among religious groups, anger among students and intellectuals. People felt they had no voice in the political system. Elections were controlled. Opposition parties were weak or banned. The Shah's connection with Western powers, especially the United States, caused additional criticism. Many Iranians believed their government did not represent their interests. By the mid-1970s, several groups, religious leaders, students, workers, and political activists, were united by one idea: Iran needed change. The stage was set for a major transformation.
Part 3, Modern History of Iran, Section 3, The Islamic Revolution and the Iran-Iraq War. Modern History of Iran, Part 3. Welcome to Part 3 of this documentary. In the previous sections, we discussed the nationalization of oil, the 1953 coup the rule of Mohammad Reza Shah, and the reforms of the White Revolution. Now we move to one of the most important moments in the history of Iran, the Islamic Revolution of 1979 and the dramatic years that came after it, including the Iran-Iraq War. Let's continue our story. Chapter 14. The Road to Revolution. By the late 1970s, dissatisfaction had spread across nearly all parts of Iranian society. Many factors pushed the country toward revolution. 1. Political repression. The Shah ruled with strong control. Elections were limited, political parties had little power, and critics were often arrested. Savak, the secret police, created fear among the population. 2. Economic inequality. Even though Iran was wealthy from oil, many people felt the money was not shared fairly. Some groups became very rich, while others lived with rising prices and unemployment. 3. Cultural changes. Rapid modernization changed traditional lifestyles. Some people celebrated the new freedoms, but many others felt their cultural values were under attack. 4. Religious leadership. Exiled cleric Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini continued to inspire protests from abroad. His messages were secretly recorded and distributed inside Iran. 5. Public anger toward foreign influence. Many believed Iran was too dependent on the United States and Western governments. This increased the feeling that the country needed a new direction. All these elements combined, creating a powerful wave of frustration. Chapter 15. The Spark of Revolution, 1978 or 1979. In early 1978, protests began after a newspaper article insulted Khomeini. The demonstrations grew quickly. At first, people demanded reforms, but after government forces responded with violence, the movement expanded. Protests continued in many cities. Every time the government tried to stop them, more people joined. Different groups, students, workers, clerics, merchants, and middle-class families, became united. In September 1978, the government declared martial law. On a day known as Black Friday, hundreds of protesters were killed in Tehran. This moment destroyed trust between the people and the Shah's government. Strikes spread throughout the country, especially among oil workers. Oil production stopped. The economy began to collapse. The Shah lost political support, and foreign allies began to doubt his future. In January 1979, the Shah left Iran. He said he was taking a short vacation, but he never returned. Only a few weeks later, Ayatollah Khomeini returned from exile to a huge welcome. Millions of Iranians celebrated his arrival. The monarchy collapsed, and the revolution succeeded. Chapter 16. Establishment of the Islamic Republic. After the victory of the revolution, Iran entered a new and uncertain period. Different groups wanted different futures: religious leaders, liberal intellectuals, students, left-wing activists, nationalists. At first, they worked together because they had a common enemy, the monarchy. But once the Shah was gone, disagreements appeared. Ayatollah Khomeini became the central figure in the new political system. A referendum was held in April 1979. People were asked to vote on creating an Islamic Republic. The majority voted yes. A new constitution was written. It created a system with a supreme leader, a president, a parliament, a judiciary, the Revolutionary Guard, various councils and institutions. The system combined modern political structures with Islamic principles. Many groups that participated in the revolution later lost political power. Some leaders were arrested, others left Iran, and many organizations were dissolved. The revolution changed Iran's society deeply. New dress codes, cultural restrictions, religious laws, new school curriculums, changes in media and public life. Millions supported the changes. Millions also struggled with the new rules. But the new system became firmly established. Chapter 17. The U.S. Embassy hostage crisis, 1979 to 1981. In November 1979, a major international crisis began. A group of Iranian students entered the United States Embassy in Tehran and took diplomats hostage. They said they acted because the United States had allowed the Shah to enter the country for medical treatment. The students believed the United States might help restore the Shah to power. Like in 1953, they demanded that the Shah be returned to Iran for trial. The crisis lasted 444 days. It destroyed relations between Iran and the United States. The United States froze Iranian assets, imposed sanctions, and supported Iran's regional rivals. The event changed Iran's global position permanently. It marked the beginning of long-term tension between Iran and the United States. Chapter 18, Beginning of the Iran-Iraq War, 1980-1988. In September 1980, another disaster struck. Iraq, led by Saddam Hussein, invaded Iran. He believed Iran was weak after the revolution. He wanted to control disputed border territories and become the dominant power in the Persian Gulf. The war began with heavy attacks on Iranian cities, airports, and oil facilities. Iraq captured large areas of Iranian land in the first months. The Iranian government called for national defense. Millions of volunteers joined the war effort. The Revolutionary Guard and the regular army fought together. The war soon became extremely violent and destructive. Both sides used artillery, tanks, aircraft, and missiles. And Iraq also used chemical weapons, causing severe suffering among Iranian soldiers and civilians. Chapter 19. The Long and Painful Years of War. The conflict turned into one of the longest wars of the 20th century. It lasted 8 years and caused huge losses. Human cost, hundreds of thousands of soldiers and civilians were killed or injured. Many cities near the border were destroyed. Millions of people were displaced. Economic cost, oil facilities, factories, and infrastructure were damaged. The economy struggled under the pressure of war. Social impact. The war united the country around the idea of resistance. Many people saw it as a defense of the revolution and the homeland. International dimension. The United States, Soviet Union, and many Arab countries supported Iraq. Iran felt isolated. This increased its belief that it needed to be self-sufficient and independent from foreign powers. By the mid-1980s, Iran had regained most of the territory lost in the early stages of the war. However, neither side could win a decisive victory. After 8 difficult years, United Nations Resolution 598 led to a ceasefire in 1988. Ayatollah Khomeini described accepting the resolution as drinking a cup of poison, but he agreed that peace was necessary. Chapter 20, Iran after the war. When the war ended in 1988, Iran faced major challenges: rebuilding destroyed cities, recovering the economy, helping millions of veterans, dealing with inflation. Reorganizing national institutions, Ayatollah Khomeini passed away in 1989. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei became the new supreme leader. At the same time, Iran began a new phase of reconstruction and development. New presidents introduced different economic and political approaches, each shaping the country in unique ways. But the main structure of the Islamic Republic remained. Part 4, Modern History of Iran, Section 4, Post-War Iran to Today, Modern History of Iran, Part 4. Welcome to Part 4, the final part of this documentary. In the previous sections, we explored Iran from the Qajar era to the end of the Iran-Iraq War. Now we look at Iran after the war, including reconstruction, political changes, social developments, and Iran in the 21st century. Chapter 21, Post-War Reconstruction, 1988-1997. After the ceasefire in 1988, Iran faced huge challenges. Cities near the border were destroyed. Millions of homes, factories, and schools needed rebuilding. The economy was weak. Inflation was high, and unemployment affected many families. The new supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and President Ali Akbar Hashemi Rafsanjani focused on reconstruction. Rafsanjani's government promoted rebuilding infrastructure, restoring oil production, improving transport and communication, expanding education and health care. During this period, Iran tried to open up trade with neighboring countries and reduce international isolation. However, political restrictions remained, and some social tensions continued. Chapter 22, Reform and Political Changes, 1997-2005. In 1997, Mohammad Khatami was elected president. He represented reformist ideas and promised more freedoms for the people. Many Iranians, especially young people, supported him. Khatami focused on promoting civil society, increasing freedom of speech, encouraging cultural and educational exchanges, improving relations with other countries. During his presidency, newspapers and magazines increased, and more people joined political discussions. Universities became centers of debate and activism. However, Khatami faced strong opposition from conservatives. They controlled the judiciary, the security forces, and parts of the government. Despite these challenges, Khatami's era is remembered as a time of hope for many Iranians. Chapter 23, Ahmadinejad Era, 2005-2013. In 2005, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad became president. He represented conservative and populist ideas. His presidency focused on reducing government corruption, supporting the poor, emphasizing Islamic values, resisting Western influence. Ahmadinejad became well known internationally for his critical speeches about the United States and Israel. His policies created tensions with Western countries. At the same time, many Iranians appreciated his attention to the needs of ordinary citizens. Domestically, political restrictions increased, and some reformist media were closed. The 2009 presidential election sparked massive protests, known as the Green Movement. Many young people and reformist supporters protested for fair elections and political freedoms. The government responded with arrests and crackdowns, which increased social and political tension. Chapter 24, Rouhani Era and Nuclear Deal, 2013-2021. In 2013, Hassan Rouhani was elected president. He promised to improve Iran's economy and international relations. One of his main achievements was the 2015 nuclear agreement, JCPOA, with world powers. This deal aimed to limit Iran's nuclear program in exchange for lifting some sanctions. Rouhani also encouraged more engagement with other countries, economic reforms, limited social freedoms for citizens. However, the deal faced challenges. In 2018, the United States withdrew from the agreement and reimposed sanctions. This caused economic difficulties and social unrest in Iran. Despite these problems, Rouhani's presidency showed a shift toward diplomacy and international negotiation. Chapter 25, Social Movements and Challenges. In the 21st century, Iran has faced many social challenges and movements. 1. Youth and education. Iran has a large young population. Many young Iranians demand more freedom, access to technology, and opportunities for work and study abroad. 2. Women's rights. Women have gained higher education and more access to the workforce. However, they continue to face social and legal restrictions. Protests for equality and freedom have increased in recent years. 3. Economic struggles. High inflation, unemployment, and fluctuations in oil prices continue to affect people's daily lives. Many Iranians rely on small businesses or informal work to survive. 4. Protests and political engagement. Several waves of protests have occurred in the 21st century, including protests about fuel prices, protests for social freedoms, student demonstrations, labor strikes. These movements show that Iranian society continues to seek change and improvement. Chapter 26. Modern Iran on the World Stage. Iran remains an influential country in the Middle East. It has strong cultural, religious, and historical identity. Internationally, Iran is involved in regional politics, religious leadership in Shia communities, diplomatic relations with neighboring countries, economic trade. Despite sanctions, Iran also faces criticism from some countries for human rights issues and political restrictions. Balancing national sovereignty, modernization, and international pressure remains a challenge. Chapter 27. Culture, Science, and Technology. Despite political challenges, Iran has made significant achievements in education. Many universities and research centers, science, medicine, engineering, and nanotechnology, culture, literature, cinema, music, and art sports, wrestling, soccer, and volleyball successes. Iranian society is dynamic. Citizens continue to innovate, create art, and participate in science and culture. Technology and social media play a major role in shaping opinions and connecting people. Chapter 28. Iran Today, 2020s. Today, Iran faces many challenges and opportunities. Economic pressures from sanctions and global market changes. Social change due to a young population, debates between conservatives and reformists. Technological advancement and digital culture, the continuing influence of religion in politics. At the same time, Iran remains proud of its history, culture, and identity. Many Iranians hope for a future that balances tradition, freedom, and modernization. Iran's journey from the late Qajar dynasty to the 21st century shows resilience in the face of foreign influence, struggles for independence and democracy, a constant desire for modernization, the role of culture and religion in shaping society. History is never simple, but it is always important to understand the past to build a better future. Conclusion. Iran's modern history is full of challenges, achievements, struggles, and transformations. From foreign domination to constitutional reform, from monarchy to revolution, from war to reconstruction, Iran has experienced dramatic changes. Understanding this history helps us see why Iran is the way it is today. It also shows the power of the people, the importance of leadership, and the impact of global politics on a nation's path. Thank you for watching this documentary. We hope this journey through Iran's modern history has been informative, interesting, and easy to understand. Stay curious and continue learning about the rich and complex world around us.